Okay, welcome back. We're going to talk about another thing that happens within ACMS. It's going to happen to most clubs here in just a few days. It's end of year activities. There's this one thing that ACMS does automatically, and it does this when the month that the club designates is the month that they officially start taking memberships for the following year. What ACMS does, it automatically creates next year's club for you. So in the first place, what that means is when you go to the ACMS user interface, like what we see here, you currently see, this is just a sample database, and you see two different clubs here, and you can see that they're both for 2024. So when this month comes up in your club, where you have designated it as it's time for you to start accepting memberships for the following year, ACMS will automatically create next year's club for you. And so what that's going to look like in the user interface is actually this. Now notice before I had two clubs. Now in this case I have the 2024 version of the club and a 2025 version of each club. This 2025 version was automatically created by ACMS, and you can see that it's copied all of the club's attributes, even whether or not ACMS manages voting and finances, the header image, whether or not the club takes Venmo, Street City. Now, notice though that the carryover balance is not set to anything. The charter is empty, the insurance is empty, and the background has been copied over. And if you had any club notes set for the club, those are copied over also. Finally, at the end here is has started attribute. That if it's checked, that means that the club has started already. In other words, the 2024 club has started, but if we look at the 2025 club, it's not started yet. Now, the reason it does this is so that you can version all your clubs on a per year basis. And in doing so, what that means is all the members of the next year's club start over again. So you can see here in the 2024 version of this club up on top, I currently have 36 paid members. And in this other club here, the 2024 version, I have, let's wait for it, one paid member and 48 non-paid members. Now, excuse me, if we look at the 2025 version of that club, the club that ACMS automatically created, what it's going to do is go to all the paid members of the current year's club and copy them over to next year. And the reason it does this is so now when this member pays their dues, you can record it. Say, for example, this member paid their dues on this date, and they paid it in cash, right? So now we've got one paid member, and that's how you would do it for each of the members that come over. Similarly, let's look at this other club, which currently has 36 paid members. Well, the 2025 version of that club that ACMS created will have 0 paid members, as we will shortly see, and 36 non-paid lapsed members. That means that all the club members from last year that were paid are now lapsed members. And now if any of these guys pay, you can record that as, okay, this guy paid and this guy paid. So now I've got 2 paid members. You can see now as these club members who were valid paid members of the current club, as they pay for next year, now you record that they've paid for the following year in the 2025 version of that club. And you can also see then, once again, this is just a kind of a sample database. The email addresses are kind of sampled, phone numbers and on and on. But you can see that all the attributes of the members have been copied over. In addition, if you had any notes about those members, you can see they were copied over. whether or not they require AMA, whether or not they said to publish their private information. If they were a band member, that gets copied over also. And that's how you manage club members on a year-to-year basis. And you'll see this 2025 version of your club come up shortly, at least for all the clubs that have November set for the month that they begin accepting new memberships. Now let's go look at some other things that happen. It turns out when ACMS creates this new club automatically, you'll get an email, and anybody who has an ACMS account will get an email like this telling you that that next year's club was created for your current club. It'll give you a lot of details about, when emails will start going out and what happens with all of the attributes, and you can read through that at your leisure. But if we want to go through, the interesting attributes are, notice that the officers are the same as the prior year. Now you want to update this for the following year. All the officers from the current year are copied over to the next year. Any voted in officers are also copied over. Any officer nominations are not copied over. All member subscriptions are copied over. Financial items are not copied over. Any emails that the club ignores is copied over. The roster configs remain the same. Dues remain the same. You may have some adjustments in dues, but they're copied over from the previous years. Documents are copied over from the previous years except for the membership roster. Notice in the current year I have a membership roster, but for the following year I do not have a membership roster yet. That'll be automatically populated once you start adding members. Events are not copied over. Recurring events are copied over. So for example, if you look at this club, it had 2 recurring events. If we look at the following year for its club, you see that the recurring events did get copied over. Now the other interesting thing that happens is with meetings. If you look at your current year for your club, you will see, in this case, this club has monthly meetings on every month, and these are the dates that those meetings were held. If you look at the following year, you'll notice that there's still one meeting for every month, although the dates have changed. So what ACMS does is it goes, when it creates meetings for your clubs automatically for next year, it goes to your old club and says, okay, was there a meeting in January? If so, what would be the appropriate day in January for the next year? And then it does it for February and March. If any month that the club did have a meeting, it'll set a next meeting for in 2025 with the appropriate date. So that's a little bit about how ACMS manages next clubs, automatically creates the next year's clubs for you. You can see that various club attributes were copied over, and you'll get a lot more detailed information about what happened in the email that gets sent to anybody that has an account for your club on ACMS. And so then what happens, let's just review a little bit. So this is how it currently looks for most clubs. When ACMS automatically creates your new club, you'll see 2025 versions of your club. But then the 2025 version of your club will not be shown to you anymore starting with 2 weeks after you get into 2025. Your club won't be shown to you anymore. So for example, what it'll begin to look like is something like this. Now you don't see your 2024 clubs anymore. All you'll see is your 2025 clubs, and then you just manage that going forward. Your 2024 clubs are always there. They're stored in the database. They're versioned. We don't have the direct ability to put those back on the UI at this point. I'm sure at some point in time I'll have some kind of widget on the UI that allows you to view your prior year clubs, but today you can't see that. But you will be able to see the 2024 versions of your clubs for the first 2 weeks of 2025, just in case you need to do any cleanup. Maybe you want to, whatever, maybe update some minutes or whatever, things like that. For 2 weeks, you'll have the ability to do that. And that's how ACMS manages club years. And for the most part, it's all automatic. But at a high level, what it's trying to do is give you a place where you can record the fact that club members have paid for their dues for their following year. Any questions? Send me a note or give me a call, and I'll try and help you through if you get confused with anything. Thanks a lot.